and welcome. We are here for Ashley's Heart Song. This is the place where we get out of the stress and right back into our body, our life, our business. This journey is all about elevating the health and vitality of our body. And that is my mission. And my mission is located right inside my heart so that I can help you find out what needs to be done for you in order for you to live from your heart song and elevate your life, elevate the way that you feel inside your body. Because let's face it, there's a lot of external forces out there that can beat us up. And I was reading a really cool quote the other day that had talked about, it's not the bruises on the body that hurt. It is about what our heart is feeling and what our mind, the bruises of our mind. And when we think about our experiences in our life and the results of those experiences, meaning how we feel inside our body, what our body looks like, how our body feels, it is typically because of what's on the heart and in the mind. And so our journey today is all around that. Our journey today is around the nutrition of our mind, nutrition of the brain, and how important it is for our brain to have the nutrients that it needs so that we feel energized and ready for whatever ever comes our way. So I am thrilled to have you join me today. Thank you for being here with me. And just thank you very much for being here with me today. Happy to have you here. All right, so let's move on with a quote. Y'all know how I love quotes and I love to start with quotes. So I just gave you one, but that one just kind of entered in my mind as from what I had read before. But the one that I wanted to talk with you about today is one that is around shining a light. And when we can shine a light on something that has been hidden from us, all of a sudden we see it and we go, oh, there it is. That's the direction that I need to go in. And this is by Leonard Cohen. And he says, there is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. So as we are speaking on this topic today about your journey with the mind, with the brain, and the nutrition around it, this is just shining a light. And there is a crack within the process that you have, your eating processes, the eating method that you're doing. There are cracks, right? And so a light's going to get in and you're going to be able to see and feel and determine what your next step is so that your brain is as healthy as it can be. The brain, as we know, is in charge of our cognitive function. We know that we can get moody inside that little brain of ours. There is inflammation that we can react to, and there's an addiction. So we're going to look at all four of those areas today when we're looking at our mental fitness, our physical fitness, and our emotional fitness. And I'm going to fit all of those right inside those areas that we typically look at and work with so that you can have something to go by, so you can have that next step. And then I'm going to be ending with the pro tip that I end with every time. We'll have that pro tip of what you can do today, that action step you can do today so that you can elevate the nutrition of your brain. All right. But y'all know we got to start with our vitality score. So let's take a look at the vitality score this week. So if you've never been to my show before, we take a vitality score, which is your physical body, your mental body, your emotional body, and your spiritual body. And we score each one of those so that you can see from this day right here, what is your score, and you can determine what you need to do in order to improve that score for next week. And hopefully what you learned today, you'll be able to include that in so you can elevate the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies. So physical body, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel physically today? Do you feel like you have all the energy that you need? If you feel energized, if you feel vibrant and strong, and nothing can stop you physically, then that's a 10. But if you are having aches and pains and you're moving around slow and you don't really feel good inside your body, then the score is going to be somewhere between 1 and 5. So where do you rate physical body today, your vitality score, 1 to 10? All right, and we're going to add these up at the very end. So 1 to 10. Got it? Next is your emotional body. Where do you fall in as far as your emotional body is concerned? Emotional body. All right, between 1 and 10. If you feel awesome, super fit emotionally, right? Emotionally, super fit emotionally, meaning you don't feel anxiety or angst or anger, frustration, any of those things. You feel balanced, then you're a 10. If you feel like your emotions are a little roller coastery, maybe you're moody today, anything like that, then your score would be between 1 and 5. So where do you rate between 1 and 10? And if it's a little below the line, it's 1 and 5. If it's above the line, it's between 6 and 10. All right, now mental fitness. Where do you feel, according to your mental fitness, is your cognitive function on track? Are you processing well? Do you find that you have clear thinking? If you do, then you're between a 6 and a 10. But if you feel not so much, maybe today there's a little confusion, meaning confusion as far as, you don't know what step you want to take next. Things just don't seem real clear to you, then that's between a 1 and a 5. So where are you rating today? What's your score on mental fitness? All right. Now that you've got that number, let's go to spiritual. Spiritually today, your spiritual body, where do you feel spiritually between 1 and 10? 10 being you are connected. You know that what you're doing today is purpose-driven. You've got this. Or do you feel a little disconnected, a little discombobulated maybe, separated, alone, right? Because when we're spiritually healthy, then we never feel alone because we're always connected. But if we feel alone, then that's showing us that our spiritual connection has been disconnected. So where are you between 1 and 10 on spiritual? Now, once you have those numbers for each one of those categories, add them up, and the top score is 40. So 40 would be tons of vitality. You have got vitality in the pocket today. If you are below 20, then there is definitely some room to work, right? To bring it up. And we want that score, of course, for human beings. We got a lot going on, right? We're human beings. So the score may go up and down, and that's okay. We don't want it to nosedive. We don't want to be a 40 one day, a 10 the next. We want more of a, right? Just a very gentle roller coaster ride, not an onslaught of twirls and upside down circles and nosedives. We don't want that. We just want it to be very gentle. My goal, my hope, my song is for this show to impact your vitality score. For this show to help you elevate your vitality score so there aren't any nosedives, but so that you feel vibrantly healthy, filled with vitality, but also to teach you some things that you can do in order to elevate and master that. All right. So let's take a look at our topic for today around the brain. Y'all, the brain is really cool, isn't it? It has such nuances to it and such capability that when we don't master our mind, it will take us for a journey that we aren't really wanting to take. We have that fight or flight mind that can send us off down rabbit holes and into muck puddles, right? By that fear response, the fear thinking, the lack thinking, the a little jitty that my husband used to sing playfully was, nobody likes me, everybody hates me, think I'll go eat worms. I don't know why. It's just the most, it's a terrible song, y'all. It's so terrible, but it's such a fun little ditty to explain what I'm talking about, because the mind has a tendency to go into that song when things just seem like they're not quite right, or maybe things are great, but something happened that shifted that mind into a fear-based thinking, and that ditty just comes up over and over again. So we want to become masters of our mind. And one of the ways that we can become a master of our mind is to make certain that we are providing the nutritional quality that our brain needs for function. They did a study on diets like the Mediterranean diet, a traditional Japanese diet, and the Western diet. And what they found was that the traditional diet of Mediterranean and Japanese diet had 25 to 30% less risk of depression than the standard Western diet, right? So when we look at that, we realize that, knowing, those of us who live in the Western world know that the diet is so filled with processed foods, fast foods, mass-produced foods, high sugar foods, high fructose corn syrup, the full gamut of preservatives, artificial sweeteners, artificial colors, artificial flavorings. The list goes on. And when your diet is filled with those, the studies show that there is an increased risk of depression and mood disorders. So that right there is like this big neon alert sign saying, don't go near there. Don't go near there. So look at your diet. What does your diet include? When you look from start to finish of your day, are you seeing that it includes whole foods like fruits, vegetables, essential fats, proteins? Is the majority of it those foods, or do you have processed foods mixed in with it? Or is your diet only processed foods, fast foods, mass-produced foods, packaged foods? When that is all that's before us, when you go to the grocery store, unless you know how to shop that U, and now they've even kind of changed that a little bit, it's more like a U with the tail, right? Or a W in some stores. I've noticed that how we used to back in the 80s and 90s, when we taught people how to grocery shop, it was shopping the U. And now they've changed the grocery shopping structure so much that we can get lost inside those aisles and begin picking up foods that are not really intended for our body to eat and be healthy with. So learning how to grocery shop is a very powerful trick. And one of the ways that you can do that is just by simply reading labels. When you go into the grocery store, if a label has 5 ingredients or more, stay away from it. If it has 5 ingredients or less, read on it and make sure you know what every single one of those ingredients is and where it came from. That is just a very simple tool that you can use when you go to the store to buy your groceries. So let's look at what this mass production of food, the fast food, the processed foods, all of the preservatives and the artificial flavorings and sweeteners and things, what is it that they really create in our body and in our mind? And so there's this thing called cognitive function, and cognitive function is your ability to process information, to bring it in and to spit it back out, right? It's that understanding. And when we have a diet that is filled with the artificials and the mass-produced food, processed food, high sugar, then that decreases exponentially the ability to process information and to be able to distribute it right back out. It decreases, along with so many other things that is happening within our mind when we are doing critical thinking activities. So one thing that you can look at and ask yourself is, okay, how is my memory? Is my memory on point, or is my memory a little impaired? That is one way that you can see if your brain is getting all the nutrition that it needs. How about your attention? Are you able to hold and maintain attention for a length of time? If you're not, then your brain is starving for some nutrients. Learning, are you able to take in new information and hold on to it and be able to use it and put it to use in your life? If you find that challenging, then nutrition could be a place where you want to look at for your brain function and your brain power. What about another category that the poor nutrition can create within your body is inflammation. So when we think of inflammation, we typically think of it, I feel it in my muscles because I had a good workout and my muscles are really sore. That's inflammation. If your joint is hurting, it's stiff, then there's inflammation there. And people typically attribute that, it's an arthritis feel, right? They like to put a label on that. And there's inflammation in there, maybe arthritis, maybe not. It could be something else, and many number of things, right? But that's a language that you might be able to understand. So we feel that kind of inflammation. And an inflammation that people are becoming more and more aware of is the inflammation in the gut. When we have digestive upset, digestive distress, then we have inflammation in our gut. That inflammation in the gut impairs you greatly. And one of the things that causes is a reduction in serotonin. So serotonin is a neurotransmitter, and we usually think of it as it's in our brain, and it is, but it's mainly produced, 95% of it's produced in our gut. So y'all hear me talk about the three brains. We have the head brain, we have the heart brain, we have the gut brain. The gut brain has hundreds of millions of hundreds of neurons, nerve cells in the mucosal lining of the gut, right? It goes down through the esophagus, through the gut. We have all these neurons, nerve cells. We have more nerve cells in the gut brain than we do along the whole spinal cord. The gut is truly in charge, and we have this highway set from the head to the gut and the gut back to the head brain. And we want that highway clear. We don't want a bunch of inflammatory responses hindering the neural traffic that flows from the gut to the head and from the head to the gut. We want that highway open. But if it's inflamed due to poor nutrition, meaning artificial sweeteners, flavorings, preservatives, high dairy intake, high sugar intake, then we have a lower production of serotonin, and serotonin is our feel-good hormone. It helps us set our mood. We feel good when our serotonin levels are up. But if you're inflamed, then you will not have a high enough production of the serotonin. Therefore, your mood could feel a little wonky. So think about that for a second. Think of all the times when you have had moods. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You feel like you're in a low mood, a good mood, a happy mood, or the pit mood, the mood where you feel like you're in the muck of it. Those kind of moods. Moods where you don't want to be touched, moods where you snap, moods where you're frustrated easily, moods where you don't know what's going on. You just know that you don't feel right. Those kind of moods. When you look at those times when you've had those kinds of moods, what was your diet like? Can you pinpoint your diet during those times? More than likely, your diet had some things that weren't real beneficial for you. And I'd love to share an experience that I had around this very thing. So when I was a little girl, my family loved ice cream. We had vanilla ice cream in our home, and my sister and I would drizzle chocolate on it and mix it up where it's real soft and eat it. Oh my gosh, we had that for dessert probably almost every night. We loved ice cream. Anytime one of us kids had a play production, a track awards banquet, or anything like that where we're celebrating, we always went out for ice cream. So ice cream is a very celebratory thing in our family, and it was just always centered around love and joy and happiness. And when I look back on those times, I realized that memory that I had of ice cream was so nourishing for me. And later in my life, when I became afraid to eat, guess what saved me? The memory that I carried around ice cream saved me, and I ate ice cream. And I totally feel that ice cream is what kept me feeling safe and alive during that time of darkness. So I ate ice cream almost every night. Well, guess what? When you begin to heal, what happens? You keep up patterns that you had put into play. And who didn't like ice cream almost every night? Good golly, me, I always want ice cream. But I realized after a while, I was healed. I was no longer afraid to eat, but I was still keeping the ice cream in my diet. And it was just really good. And I still loved it and enjoyed it. But then all of a sudden I realized, I am in a really nasty mood. What is wrong? Why do I feel so depressed? Why do I feel so out of my body? Meaning I didn't like my body. I didn't like the way it felt. What's going on? I was in a sassy, cranky, moody mood. And I realized it was the ice cream. Now, it's not that I was allergic to the ice cream, sensitive to the ice cream, nothing like that. It was that I was getting too much ice cream. So where in your life are you getting too much of a food that used to feel good going in, but now is not feeling good going in? You're starting to get moody. And that moodiness is coming from the inflammation that food is causing in your body. Your serotonin levels are decreasing. You're not able to produce as high levels of serotonin because there's inflammation in your gut. Wow, right? It's like a light bulb. I told you I would shine a light inside those cracks. A light bulb goes off, and we can see that how foods can impact us, how foods are making their voice heard inside our body. So look for inflammation for you, right? Look and see if foods are causing that inflammation, and you can tell by your mood or by the bloatedness of your tummy. If your tummy feels bloated, then there's inflammation in there, inflammation in the gut. And that means the gut brain is not able to function at its fullest capacity. And y'all, for vitality, gut brain needs to function at fullest capacity. For sure, for sure, for sure. So let's reduce the inflammation by steering closer to foods that nourish our brain. And I'm going to get to that in just a minute, so hold on tight. I did want to tap into the emotional side of this for our emotional fit category. And we just talked about moods a little bit, but know that sugar disrupts the balances of all of these neurotransmitters, right, in the brain. And that is what is responsible for the anxiety, and it's responsible for regulating our moods. And if you'll notice, you could go into anxiety, depression, worry, extreme worry. And though that's also an area you want to look at. So be at ease on this and know that you don't have to stop eating everything you love all at one time. You don't. Remember, I told you this on the very first episode, the second episode, and so on and so on. Small steps lead to massive changes. So do you like what I did? I addressed one thing. I addressed the ice cream and the ice cream only. I started there. And I did not go cold turkey, y'all. I didn't. You start with a little bit at a time. What is that one small, for sure step that you can do today? Right? For me, it was taking it down from 5 days a week of ice cream down to 2. That was the small step that I could do. And then I went from there to 1 a week. Then I went from that to once every 2 weeks, I think I did. And then once a month. And then all of a sudden it was no longer in my life anymore. You kind of lose the taste for it because you're getting healthy. Your brain and your gut brain are, that highway's open and you are feeling so much better, so much more energy. So it's small steps lead to massive changes. Now, one little highlight I want to bring to y'all's attention is that this high sugar processed food diet can lead to addiction. And what does that mean? The kind of addiction is if it's cravings, it's an overconsumption. And that has a negative effect on your brain. It changes the reward center so that it makes it more difficult for you to monitor food intake, to control food intake. So when we are filled with these sugar and high processed foods, it makes it more difficult to master the cravings and the overconsumption and to control that food intake. Now, with my clients, I coach all around eating to the point of energy. That is the best portion control mechanism you have at your disposal. I love it. There's no weighing food. There is no measuring food. Nothing like that. You just get to tune into the gut brain. That is what we will do here. So if you have a high sugar, high processed diet, then just start with one meal. All right, every breakfast is going to be wholesome. The other 2, keep them processed and however it is that you're eating. But just work with breakfast. What could be the most nourishing breakfast that you could get? And what you'll want to do, here's your first number 1 guideline, is you want macronutrient balance. This is your pro tip. Your pro tip today. Macronutrient balance means it includes protein, it includes essential fat, and it includes complex carbohydrate. If you don't know what those are, then I encourage you to Google search. Again, it's lean protein, essential fats, and complex carbohydrate. The complex carbohydrate source that we want is a low glycemic source of fruit, vegetable, or a low glycemic grain. Okay? And you can look up what those low glycemic grains are. Essential fats and proteins are sometimes the same, like an egg. An egg has protein and essential fat. Fish, protein and essential fat. Yogurt, protein and essential fat. Nuts, protein and essential fat. Then you have those solo essential fats like coconut, avocado, olives. Those are also essential fat that you can include in a meal. Prep your breakfast having those 3 macronutrients in it. And it's macronutrients and the micronutrients that are found within the macronutrients that nourish your brain. Processed foods with preservatives, high fructose corn syrup, artificial colors, flavors, and sweeteners do not nourish the brain. They shut down the brain. They shut down the brain's capacity for cognitive function, increases inflammation, which increases moodiness. You also have the risk of Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and any of those neurological disorders that can arise from malnutrition. So we look to nourishing the brain with macronutrient and micronutrients. Those micronutrients, all the vitamins and minerals are found inside the foods. And we want well balanced. So change up your macronutrients weekly. Change them up. Get a little bit of something else going on inside your diet to shift those around a little bit. All right. So that is what I have for you today on Ashley's Heart Song, to help your heart beat, right? Being in rhythm with that beat. We want to be very well nourished, and we are nourished through all the macronutrients. We get all the nourishment we need from protein, essential fat, and complex carbohydrates. So stay tuned to that. Look at one meal a day, making that shift for one meal and putting all the macronutrients in it, and just see how you feel. Rate your vitality score with mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual fitness. Rate all of those. Once you've changed your diet for about a week, rate them and see how your vitality score is elevating. Thank you so much for joining me today for Ashley's Heart Song. I am here every Monday at 3 p.m. Central Time. Every Monday, 3 p.m. Central Time, right here on the same channel, Win Win Women. And I share content around how we can be more in tune to our heart song by elevating the health and vitality of our body, soul, and spirit. So I look forward to seeing y'all next week. If you are part of the live audience, stay around for a little bit. I would love to have a Q&A with you. And if you would love to be on the Q&A next time, be sure and tune into my Facebook page, Ashley Frederick Torian, and you can get the link to join the live audience right there. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much for joining me.